Hey guys, let me take you on a little tiny journey regarding the Kia Soul. Way back in 2005, a guy named Mike Torpy penned this design basically. The first generation Kia Soul actually debuted at the Paris Motor Show in 2008, and in 2009, you guys were driving it. It went up against the Nissan Cube, which is gone. It went up against the Honda Element, which is gone. And it went up against the Scion XB, which is gone. This survived. Not only that, but this is the third generation of this vehicle. As a matter of fact, this is the GT line version of the vehicle. And as a 2020 Kia Soul GT line, it's special because it's turbocharged. And coming up, we're gonna take it for a little ride. Let's start with numbers we don't normally start with. The numbers are 27, 32, and 29. That's 27 miles per gallon city, 32 miles per gallon highway, and 29 miles per gallon combined. Now that's with this engine. This is a turbocharged GDI. It's 1.6 liter, and it puts out 201 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. And it's exclusively hooked up to a 7-speed dual clutch transmission, which feeds the front wheels. Those numbers aren't too terribly bad for a turbocharged engine, but they're not class leading either. Nonetheless, the 201 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque, and the fact that this vehicle is now over 300 pounds lighter makes it pretty fun in the corners. So let's talk about highway ride. It's kind of interesting. First of all, it's riding better than I anticipated. Yes, it's firm because it has a sport suspension. However, I expected with the twisting beam rear suspension to have a rougher ride. I thought independent suspension vehicles have better rides, but this one's actually not too bad on the highway. However, you may notice that I'm talking kind of loud. And the reason why is because there is a pretty good deal of noise coming out of the tires, wind noise, and I'm hearing it from up above as well. So there is interior noise that you will have to contend with. Fortunately, you have 640 watts of power. And believe me, if the camera wasn't on right now, the radio would be blaring. It's really, really good sound system. So that helps a lot. Another thing that helps is the fact that this vehicle is indeed a turbo. And as such, it has something really awesome called pickup. Now there is turbo lag. However, let's say I want to pass, that vehicle in front of me. I put my foot down. Yeah. And it has no problem lifting up its skirt and taking off. So the very good passing power. Very good passing power. Let's talk design because it is different than its brother, the X-Line, which is more off-roady looking. They wanted this to look a little bit more mean, I guess. So they have what they call the Tiger Nose Grille. Well, it certainly looks angry. They have LED lights. This whole design is unique to the GT line. And with that, you have this section here, which on the other vehicle is a different set of lights. This whole grille is unique. This whole section is unique. So it looks more sporty. All right, guys, still a hatchback, still very cube shaped, and that's the whole point. They wanted maximum utility in a vehicle like this, even though it's really not a utility vehicle. Yeah, I know they market it as an SUV or a crossover. It's a hatchback, but it's a hatchback with some interesting lines now because they've decided to go and put these lines in here for more character. Look at this. This little line over here, and then ba-boom, a line here. I don't really think it changes the overall shape. I don't think it makes it look that much sportier, but hey, it's an effort, right? There are a couple things about the back styling that you guys need to know. First of all, this is all new, this whole element here. It's a much more refined look, according to them, than the previous model, which had sharper lines, I would say. This is what they call a boomerang shape. Yeah, I can see that. And then they've got these little outlets here, little lines here, here, and here. Pretty much a little bit more expressive than it was before, but frankly speaking, you still know that it's a Kia Soul, even from the back. This is crazy. I was born and raised in Southern California, so snow? It's crazy. There's snow on the ground here. Performance-wise, in terms of straight line speed, this thing is quick. I'm not that keen on the exhaust note. It's not bad, it's just kind of industrial. And that might have something to do with the fact that it's really for show, the dual exhaust in the rear. It's not a real dual exhaust. The steering feel, as I mentioned before on the highway, it's the same thing here. Really, it's not connected really to the wheels. You don't really feel much, but the weight is quite good. All in all, this is a fun setup. It could use a couple things. I personally believe that they really should have a manual option, but the turbocharged engine, nah. And probably because the take rate is really low, and it's because none of you guys drive sticks anymore. Sorry, that's the facts. Off the line, there is a little bit of lag, and I don't think it's just turbo lag either. I think that the transmission kind of has to catch up with itself sometimes. So a couple things you need to know about the Kia Soul GT line. For one thing, they made the suspension stiffer, so this is actually a better handling car than a regular Soul. Unfortunately, it's a twisting beam rear suspension. It's not a fully independent rear suspension. So it doesn't handle quite the same as, say, a Honda Civic Si, or even its distant cousin, the Hyundai Elantra GT. But here's the good news. First of all, you get these Goodyear Eagle Touring tires, which are excellent. You also get bigger brakes. And because it's the GT line, you get these cool little red accents all over the vehicle. By the way, 18-inch wheels, standard. If you remember, the older Soul had a really cool option for a panoramic sunroof. It was big, it was bold, it was frankly really cool. It was also very heavy. One of the ways they managed to save a lot of weight with this vehicle was to remove it and to put this little tiny dinky sunroof in here. And this might be my biggest complaint. Yes, they saved a lot of weight, which is a good thing. And that's coming from a guy who really knows something about saving weight. But at the same time, they have this. And unfortunately, it's a very small sunroof. All right, I have the seat as far back as it will go. Plus, it's leaning back. And that's the only way I lose legroom, is with this thing impossibly far back. Normally speaking, there's actually a decent amount of legroom here. Headroom is quite good too. That's another benefit from them removing the panoramic sunroof, is actually not having anything bulge out over here. So rear seat room isn't too bad. And once again, I have the seat as far back as I can, and it's leaning back quite a bit as well. Now, despite doubters, I am 6'1", and I'm sitting behind myself, and I have ample legroom, and I have ample headroom. Really, really well done back seats. This is why a vehicle like this works really well for small families, because there is a lot of extra space here. There's really good utility, and frankly speaking, 2 kids in the back seat, piece of cake in this car. Let me show you the crown jewel of this car in terms of comparing it to other hatchbacks. That is a big ass opening. It's a really good size. Not too high with the liftover either. But look at this. First of all, this area here, I love the fact that this folds, and it has some strength to it. You can actually put something relatively heavy up here if you needed to. But here's the cool part. This cargo area here, boom, drops several inches down and creates a lot more space. Yes, there is a tire. It is a donut. That is actually a decent amount of space. Once again, really good utility. I love sitting in the front of the Kia Soul. And I've liked it since the beginning, since the first generation. And that's because they managed to build a car that's fun from the inside. It's not perfect, trust me. They've got gimmicks, yeah, the lights are kind of gimmicky, and they've got this heads-up display thing that's a little flappy thing instead of actually going on the windshield, which actually I kind of like it, but it's slow. They've got this. Man, that is a big-ass screen. It's a 10.25-inch touchscreen. And instead of being like everybody else where it's like an iPad sitting up, they put it on its side, and you know what? It's great. Navigation and everything else, it's fantastic. It's easy to use. Once you get used to it, a little bit of a learning curve because there's so much going on. It's so big. All the controls are easy to use. They're well laid out. But the best part is this steering wheel. It's meaty and beefy, which I love. It's got a flat bottom, which is great for a fat guy like me. So it's easy to get in and out of the vehicle, but it looks cool too. All the controls here are great. It's got paddle shifters, paddle shifters. It's just kind of a sporty car, right? That's what you're gonna expect. And the seats themselves aren't too bad. If I were a less girthy guy, then these seats would be wonderful. But with my size, personally speaking, the bolsters do squeeze me a little bit. Something important, because we're idiots. I had my phone sitting down here in this little storage area, thinking that that was part of the QI charging section. It's not, so my phone wasn't charged. So have a look. What you need to do is put your phone in this little slot here, and that, see, it's actually working now. All right, so what's the verdict? Well, we did have an opportunity to drive the vehicle around, have some fun with it, and it is every bit as much fun as I was hoping for. However, it wasn't a long time, so I'd like to get it up to Colorado and really give it a good shakedown. Let little Mikey get behind the wheel so he can have an opportunity to compare it against his overpriced Volkswagen GTI, which reminds me, competition, power-wise, it competes directly against vehicles like the Honda Civic Si. This is a lot more utilitarian, but the Civic Si definitely handles better, no doubt. So what about pricing? Well, unfortunately, they don't have pricing on the GT line yet. However, base price for this vehicle starts at $17,490, which is a really good price, and you can get a 6-speed manual transmission, but that's only with the naturally aspirated 2-liter engine. So far, so good, Kia. Yeah. Thanks for joining me. For the Fast Lane Car, this is Nathan. Don't forget to go to tflcar.com for more news, views, real-world reviews, and press events like this in beautiful San Diego.